You know that moment when your entire world collapses in the span of about 30 seconds? When everything you've worked for, everything you've sacrificed for, everything you've believed in just evaporates into thin air? When the ground beneath your feet disappears and you're left falling into a void with no idea how to catch yourself? When every memory you've ever made becomes tainted by the realization that it was all built on a foundation of lies? That was me at 9:47 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, standing in my own office, staring at two police officers who had just informed me that I was under investigation for embezzlement. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. My mind was racing, trying to process what they were telling me. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed, and the hum of the office air conditioning suddenly seemed deafening. My corner office, with its panoramic windows and plaques on the wall, had always felt like a sanctuary. Now it felt like a trap. My name is Victoria. I am 43 years old. I have been married to my husband Derek for 19 years. We have 2 children together. A daughter named Sophia, who is 17, and a son named William, who is 14. We have a beautiful home in an exclusive gated community, the kind with manicured lawns and neighbors who wave when they drive by. We have a golden retriever named Buddy, who thinks he's a lapdog. We have a vacation home on the lake and a ski condo in the mountains. We are that family, the one with the perfect lawn, the perfect holidays, the perfect social media posts that make everyone else feel inadequate. I am the chief financial officer of a mid-sized manufacturing company. I have worked there for 15 years. I have built my career from the ground up, one spreadsheet at a time. I have always believed in honesty, in integrity, in doing what is right. I believed my marriage was one of those things. Right? True. Built to last. Derek is a successful architect, the kind of man who commands attention when he walks into a room. He is tall, handsome, and has a smile that could charm anyone. He is also ambitious, driven, and has a way of making you feel like you are the most important person in the world when he is talking to you. He is the kind of man other women wish their husbands were like. He is the kind of father every child deserves. I met him when I was 24. Fresh out of business school and working my first real job at a small firm. He was 30, already on his way to the top. He swept me off my feet from the very first moment. He was everything I had ever wanted in a man. He was charming, confident, intelligent, and he made me feel like I was the only woman in the world. We dated for 2 years before he proposed. It was a fairy tale proposal, the kind you see in movies. He took me to a beautiful restaurant overlooking the city, got down on one knee, and told me he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me. I said yes, of course. I was madly in love with him. I could not imagine my life without him. He was my everything. Our wedding was beautiful. A lavish affair with hundreds of guests, a 5-tier cake, and a live band. I wore a designer dress that made me feel like a princess, and I walked down the aisle on my father's arm. When I saw Derek waiting for me at the altar, I felt like the luckiest woman in the world. I thought I had it all. I thought I was living the dream. But dreams have a way of turning into nightmares. Those police officers in my office were there because someone had reported me for embezzlement. Someone had claimed that I had been stealing from the company for years. Someone had provided evidence that seemed to prove my guilt. One of the officers, a stern man with graying hair, handed me a thick folder of documents. I flipped through them, my hands trembling. There were bank statements showing transfers from the company's accounts to offshore accounts I'd never seen. There were emails, supposedly from my work address, authorizing fraudulent wire transfers. There were even fake invoices with my digital signature. The evidence was damning, and it was all a complete fabrication. Someone had framed me, and I knew exactly who that someone was. My sister-in-law, Miranda. Miranda had always been jealous of me. She was Derek's younger sister, 38 years old, and she had never quite found her footing in life. She had bounced from job to job, relationship to relationship, never staying in one place for too long. She was smart, capable, but she had a self-destructive streak that had always held her back. I had watched her burn through 3 marriages, each one ending more disastrously than the last. She'd show up at our door, mascara streaked and trembling, with a suitcase and a sob story. We'd take her in, feed her, give her money, and she'd promise to turn things around. Then she'd disappear for months, only to resurface when she needed something again. I had tried to help her over the years. I had given her money, given her advice, given her opportunities. I had believed that she could change, that she could get her life together, that she could become the person she was meant to be. I had gotten her an interview at my company once, a junior accounting position. She lasted 3 weeks before she stopped showing up. When I asked her about it, she shrugged and said it was boring. I had covered for her, made excuses to my colleagues. I had always cleaned up her messes. I thought that's what family did. But she never did change, and she resented me for my success. She had always been jealous of my career, my marriage, my family. She had always wanted what I had. She had always felt that I had stolen her brother from her, that I had taken her place in his life, that I had everything she deserved. At family gatherings, her compliments were always barbed. "Victoria, that dress is so brave." She'd say, "Or I could never work the hours you do, I'd miss my family too much." I'd smile and let it slide. I was the bigger person. I was the patient one. I was the one who didn't make waves. I had tried to be patient. I had tried to be understanding. I had tried to be kind, but nothing I did was ever good enough. She always found something to criticize, something to complain about, something to make me feel small. The way I raised my children, the way I decorated my home, the career that took me away from family obligations. She had a talent for finding the cracks in my confidence and wedging herself into them. And then she started making threats, small ones at first, veiled comments that I didn't take seriously. "I'm going to destroy you," she'd say, laughing like it was a joke. "I'm going to take everything you have." I'd laugh along nervously, telling myself she was just dramatic, just bitter, just lashing out. Derek said she'd always been that way, that I shouldn't take it personally. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. I didn't take her seriously. I thought she was just bitter, just jealous, just lashing out. I thought she would eventually get over it, eventually move on, eventually find her own happiness. I was wrong. The embezzlement investigation was thorough. The police went through all my financial records, all my emails, all my transactions. They found evidence that seemed to point to me. Accounts I had never opened, transfers I had never authorized, money I had never seen. The CFO in me had to admire the precision of it. Whoever had done this understood audit trails and financial systems. They knew exactly how to point every arrow directly at me. It was a sophisticated scheme, carefully designed to make me look guilty. Someone had gone to great lengths to frame me. Someone had access to my personal information, my work passwords, my financial records. I had always been careful firewalls, two-factor authentication, never sharing my credentials. But there was one person who could have gotten close enough. One person who had been in my home, who had used my computer when I wasn't looking, who had rummaged through my home office while supposedly visiting. Someone who knew me well, someone who had been inside my home, my office, my life. I started doing some digging. I needed to know who was behind it. I needed to find the truth. I needed to clear my name. The investigation was moving too slowly, and the whispers at work were already starting. I saw the sideways glances, the hushed conversations that stopped when I walked into a room. My reputation, built over 15 years, was crumbling. I hired a private investigator, a retired forensic accountant named Martin. I gave him the names of everyone who had access to my information. I told him to dig deep. I told him to find everything. Martin had a calm, methodical manner and a mind like a steel trap. He promised me he'd follow the money. What he found made my blood run cold. Miranda had been planning this for months. She had been systematically gathering evidence to frame me. She had been accessing my accounts, forging my signature, creating a trail of evidence that would lead straight to me. She had installed a keylogger on my home computer when she'd stayed with us last Christmas, capturing every password I typed. She'd gone through my filing cabinets, photocopied my tax returns, and used that information to open the fraudulent accounts. She had been patient, methodical, and utterly ruthless. But that wasn't all. I also found out that Miranda had a secret. A dark secret that she had been hiding from everyone. A secret that would destroy her. She had a gambling addiction. She had been losing thousands of dollars at casinos for years. She had run up massive debts. Debts she couldn't pay over $200,000, spread across loan sharks, maxed out credit cards, and shady online betting sites. She had been desperate for money. Desperate for a way out. Martin uncovered a trail of casino receipts, ATM withdrawals at odd hours, and threatening letters from collection agencies, and she had decided to frame me to get it. She had been stealing from the company, making it look like I was the one doing it. She had been funneling money into her own accounts, using my name to cover her tracks. The stolen funds, nearly $500,000, had passed through a labyrinth of shell companies before landing in an account she controlled under a fake name. But she'd left just enough breadcrumbs pointing back to me to satisfy a cursory investigation. I had her. I had all the evidence I needed to destroy her. I didn't confront her right away. I needed time to process. I needed to figure out what to do. I needed to understand the full scope of what she had done. I was a CFO. I knew how to investigate. I knew how to find the truth. And I was going to find every single detail of her scheme. I spent long nights at my desk, coffee growing cold, piecing together the puzzle. Martin and I worked like a well-oiled machine. Every discovery sparked a new line of inquiry. I started doing more digging. I went through her financial records, her bank statements, her credit card bills, her casino records. I found evidence of her gambling addiction, her massive debts, her desperate attempts to get money. I found the moment it had all spiraled: a trip to Atlantic City 3 years ago where she'd lost $50,000 in a single weekend. After that, she'd been on a hamster wheel of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, sinking deeper and deeper. I also found evidence of her scheme. The forged documents, the fake transfers, the stolen money. It was all there. Everything she had done, everything she had tried to hide. I found the original files on an old laptop she'd abandoned at her last apartment, a laptop the investigator recovered from a pawn shop. Of all places, she had been careless in her arrogance, never imagining anyone would trace it back to her. I also found out that she had been planning to escape. She had been planning to take the money and run. She had been planning to start a new life somewhere else, somewhere far away from all of us. She had bought a one-way ticket to Thailand under yet another alias, scheduled for 2 days after my arrest. She had a new passport ready, a new name, a new identity. She was going to vanish and leave me to rot in a prison cell. She had been planning to leave me to take the fall for her crimes. I was devastated. I was angry. I was humiliated. I was destroyed. But I was also determined. I gathered all the evidence I had. The financial records, the casino records, the forged documents, the fake transfers, the stolen money, the proof of her gambling addiction, the proof of her scheme, the proof of her plan to frame me, the plane ticket, the fake passport. All of it, neatly organized into a binder that I knew would bury her. I had everything I needed to destroy her. But I didn't want to just destroy her. I wanted to make sure she could never hurt anyone ever again. I wanted to make sure she would never have the chance to do to anyone else what she had done to me. She had done this before, I suspected. On a smaller scale, broken relationships, burned bridges, taken money and vanished. But this time, she had crossed a line. This time, she had tried to destroy a life. So I started planning my revenge. I contacted my lawyer, a sharp, formidable woman named Elaine, who specialized in white-collar crime. I told her everything. I showed her the evidence. I told her what I wanted. "Victoria," she said, flipping through the binder with an expression of grim satisfaction, "you have a very strong case. Your sister-in-law has committed fraud, embezzlement, and identity theft. She has been stealing from your company. She has been framing you. She has been destroying your reputation. I can help you. I can make sure she pays for what she's done." What about me? What about the charges against me? The charges against you will be dropped. The evidence clearly shows that you were framed. Your name will be cleared. Your reputation will be restored. I'll make sure the prosecution understands exactly what happened here. Good, I said. That's what I want. I want my name cleared. I want my reputation restored. And I want her to pay for what she's done. I also contacted the police. I didn't just hand over the evidence and walk away. I sat with the detectives for hours, walking them through every piece of the puzzle, explaining the financial forensics in terms they could understand. I told them everything I knew about Miranda's crimes. I told them about the embezzlement, the forgery, the identity theft, the gambling addiction, the massive debts, the plan to frame me, the plane ticket to Thailand. She was arrested a few weeks later. They picked her up at a cheap motel near the airport. Her suitcase packed, her fake passport in her purse. She was charged with multiple felonies: fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, forgery, conspiracy. She was facing serious time. She was facing the destruction of her reputation. She was facing the destruction of her life. When Derek found out, he was devastated. He had been completely taken in by her. He had trusted her, loved her, defended her, and she had been destroying his wife the whole time. He came home that night, his face ashen, and collapsed onto the couch. How could she do this? He kept asking. She's my sister. She's my little sister. She used me, he said, his voice breaking. She used me for my money, my connections, my access. She never loved me. She never cared about me at all. She just wanted to destroy you. She just wanted to take everything you had. I know, I said, and for the first time, I felt a flicker of sympathy for him. She used you, just like she used all the others. She's been playing this game her whole life. You just couldn't see it because you loved her. I'm so sorry, Victoria. I'm so sorry for everything. I should have listened to you. I should have believed you. I should have protected you. It's too late for that, I said, but I let him hold my hand. You made your choice. You believed her over me time and time again. Now you have to live with that, but we can move forward. We have to. The trial was brutal. Miranda sat in the courtroom, her face pale, her hands shaking. She looked smaller than I remembered, diminished. She tried to defend herself. She tried to spin the story. She claimed she was a victim too. She claimed she had been coerced. She claimed she had been desperate. She even tried to paint herself as a woman driven to crime by a gambling addiction she couldn't control, as if that excused everything. But the evidence was overwhelming. The financial records, the casino records, the forged documents, the fake transfers, the stolen money, the plane ticket, the fake passport. It was all there. Everything she had done, everything she had tried to hide. I watched the jury's faces as each piece of evidence was presented. I saw their expressions shift from curiosity to shock to disgust. The jury found her guilty on all counts: fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, forgery. She was facing a long prison sentence, 12 years. She was facing the destruction of her reputation. She was facing the destruction of her life. When the verdict was read, she looked at me with hatred in her eyes. "You'll regret this," she said, her voice shaking with rage. "You'll regret destroying my life. You'll regret everything when I get out. You'll pay, I promise you that." I looked back at her, my face calm, my voice steady. I had waited for this moment for months, and when it arrived, I felt no anger, only a quiet, profound resolution. I am not destroying your life. You destroyed your own life. You made choices. You made mistakes, and now you have to live with them. She was led away in handcuffs. I watched her go and I felt nothing. No pity, no satisfaction, just relief. It was finally over. She could never hurt me again. After the trial, I started the long process of rebuilding my life. My name was cleared. The company issued a formal apology. I even received a small settlement for the distress the investigation had caused. I went back to work, and I was welcomed with open arms. My colleagues had believed in me. The ones who had doubted me came forward to apologize, shamefaced. I accepted their apologies. I was too tired to hold grudges, but I was changed. The experience had changed me. I was more cautious, more guarded, more protective of my boundaries. I didn't trust as easily as I used to. I didn't give my heart away as freely. I checked my accounts obsessively. I installed security cameras at home. I double-checked every lock. The hypervigilance was exhausting, but I didn't know how to let it go. I started going to therapy. I needed to process everything. I needed to work through the trauma. I needed to learn how to trust again. My therapist was a kind woman named Dr. Chen. She listened to my story without judgment. Her expression soft but unwavering. She helped me work through my feelings, the anger, the betrayal, the shame of having been so thoroughly deceived. She gave me the tools I needed to heal. "Victoria," she said one day, leaning forward in her chair, "you've been through a terrible ordeal. You've been betrayed by someone you trusted. You've been accused of something you didn't do. You've been through a trauma that would break most people. But you're still standing. You're still fighting, and that takes incredible strength." "Thank you," I said, my voice catching. "I don't feel strong. I feel broken. I feel like a vase that's been glued back together, and everyone can see the cracks. I feel like I'll never be whole again." "You will be whole again," she said. "It will take time. It will take patience. But you will heal. You will find your way back to yourself." The cracks you see as flaws, they're actually proof of your resilience. They let the light in. That's what the Japanese call kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with gold. You're not broken. You're more beautiful for having been repaired. Her words stayed with me. I carried them with me in the months that followed. I also started spending more time with my family. My children needed me. They had suffered through this too. The whispers at school, the news stories, the confusion of seeing their mother under a cloud of suspicion. Sophia especially had struggled. She was at an age where reputation felt like everything. We started going on vacations, just the four of us. We started having family dinners where no one was allowed to check their phones. We started talking about our feelings, really talking, not just the surface level. "How was your day?" conversations we'd fallen into. We started healing together. It was a long process. There were many dark days. There were many moments when I wanted to give up, when the weight of what I'd been through pressed down on my chest and I couldn't breathe. But I didn't give up. I couldn't. I had come too far. I had fought too hard. I had survived too much. I also started to speak out. I told my story to anyone who would listen. I wrote articles. I gave interviews. I shared my experience with others. I wanted to help other women who had been through similar situations. I wanted to show them that they could survive. They could thrive. They could rebuild. I created a support group for women who had been betrayed by family members. It started small, just a few women in a church basement, sitting in a circle on folding chairs, drinking weak coffee and sharing their stories in trembling voices. But it grew, and grew and grew. Soon, there were dozens of us, then hundreds, then thousands. We shared our stories, stories of siblings who had stolen identities, parents who had drained retirement accounts, children who had lied and manipulated. We supported each other. We helped each other heal. I found a sense of purpose I had never anticipated. I realized that the best revenge was not in destroying her. The best revenge was in thriving, in building a better life, in becoming the best version of myself, in showing her that she could not destroy me, in showing her that I was stronger than she ever imagined. I also started to focus on my career with renewed energy. I was promoted to CEO of my company 2 years after the trial. The board said they were impressed by my resilience, my integrity, my vision. I had led the company through a crisis, both personal and professional, and emerged stronger. I was making a difference. I was building something meaningful. I had a seat at the table, and I used it to advocate for better fraud prevention measures and employee support programs. And I was happy, truly happy, for the first time in a long time. It's been 3 years since everything happened. 3 years since I discovered the betrayal. 3 years since I destroyed the person who had hurt me. 3 years since I started to rebuild my life. I'm happy. I'm at peace. I have everything I ever wanted. A loving husband who has spent 3 years proving that he has learned from his mistakes. Beautiful children who are growing into resilient, compassionate young adults. a successful career, a life filled with joy. Miranda is still in prison. She is serving a long sentence. She has been abandoned by everyone she loved. Her family has disowned her. Her friends have deserted her. She is alone, forgotten, lost. I don't think about her much. She is not worth my time. She is not worth my energy. She is not worth my thoughts. I have forgiven her, in my own way. Not because she deserves it. Not because I have forgotten what she did. But because I can't carry that anger around forever. It was too heavy. It was destroying me. I had to let it go. Forgiveness is not an act of grace for the offender. It's a gift you give yourself. I have learned a valuable lesson. Trust is fragile. Once it is broken, it is almost impossible to rebuild. And sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who hurt you the worst. Sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who betray you the deepest. But that doesn't mean you should stop trusting. It doesn't mean you should stop loving. It just means you should be careful. You should protect yourself. You should always be vigilant. You should always trust your instincts. Because the truth is, our instincts are usually right. If something feels off, it probably is. If someone seems too good to be true, they probably are. And if you find yourself questioning someone's loyalty, you're probably not being paranoid. Loved this story? Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a video. I upload brand new stories every single day. Gripping, emotional, and packed with twists that'll keep you guessing until the very end. Don't forget to like this video if it gave you all the feels. Comment below. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? How did you handle it? I read every single comment. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the best lessons come from other people's experiences. Got a story idea? Drop it in the comments. Your suggestion might just become the next video on this channel. Subscribe now and join our growing family of story lovers. New videos drop daily at 7 a.m. EST. Perfect to watch with your morning coffee? Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never let anyone make you feel like you're not enough. Because you are. You always have been, and you always will be.